I never thought I'd be the kind of man who needed to check up on his wife, but doubt has a way of creeping in when you least expect it. Maybe it was the way Candy had been acting lately. Distant, distracted, a little too quick to dismiss me when I asked about her day. We'd been married for 5 years, and sure, things weren't perfect, but I thought we had a solid foundation. Turns out I was wrong. The change in her started after I got back from a camping trip with my boss, Jake Hudson. It was supposed to be a weekend getaway, just a few of us guys from the firm, drinking beer and unwinding in the woods. When I got home, Candy greeted me like usual, but something was off. She smiled too much, laughed a little too easily as if overcompensating. And then there was the laundry. I wasn't looking for anything, but as I dumped my clothes into the basket, I noticed hers were already there, and among them, a pair of panties, stained in a way that made my stomach drop. It wasn't sweat. It wasn't me. My mind refused to process it at first, but the truth settled in my gut like a boulder. That night, I lay awake next to her, staring at the ceiling while she slept peacefully. Was I being paranoid? Was there some explanation? I wanted to believe that, but the gnawing feeling in my chest wouldn't let me. I had to know for sure. So I did what I never thought I'd do. I met with a lawyer. "Are you certain your wife is cheating?" Ruby Hawkins, a family law attorney, asked, leaning back in her chair. "Not 100%, I admitted, but I need to find out. And if she is, I want a divorce." "Then you'll need proof. A no-fault divorce is easy, but if you want the upper hand, adultery is your best bet." She referred me to a private investigator, Marvin Johnson, who suggested a tracking app and a small audio recorder for our landline. I hated myself for even considering it, but I had to be sure. If I confronted Candy without proof, she'd just gaslight me, twist things around until I doubted my own eyes. A week later, I was scheduled for a business trip to California. Perfect timing. If she was cheating, this would be her chance. The night before I left, I kissed her goodbye, breathing in her scent, wondering if she smelled like another man. "I'll call you after dinner," I told her. She smiled, almost too brightly. "Okay, honey, have a good flight." The next night I called. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey, babe, how's California?" "Good, just busy. How's your night?" "Oh, you won't believe this," she laughed. "Jake asked me to waitress at his party. One of the servers canceled last minute, and he said he'd pay me $150 for the night. So I figured, why not?" Jake, my boss. The same man who had been acting smug around me lately like he knew something I didn't. "That's surprising," I said carefully. "Yeah, I thought so too, but he really needed the help." "All right," I forced myself to say. "Be safe. Talk tomorrow?" "Of course." "Love you," I clenched my jaw. "Love you too." But I didn't believe it anymore. The next morning I checked the tracker. Candy's phone was still at Jake's house. It was almost noon. I called her cell. No answer. I called the house phone. Nothing. Then my email pinged. It was from Marvin. Candy spent the night at Jake Hudson's house, and she wasn't alone. Attached were pictures. I hesitated before opening them as if not looking would change the truth. But I needed to see. And when I did, my hands started shaking. She wasn't just cheating on me. She was beyond cheating on me. 3 men, Jake, his son, and a third man I didn't recognize. Rage blurred my vision. I gripped my phone so hard my knuckles turned white. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time lapse in judgment. I needed to get home. Now I caught an early flight, mind racing the whole way back, but nothing could have prepared me for what I'd overhear when I stopped by my parents' house. I hadn't planned to visit them, but I needed a moment before I faced Candy, some kind of grounding before the storm. I stepped inside quietly, not expecting to hear voices in the kitchen, my mother's voice and Candy's. I froze. "How was your date?" Mom's voice was light, almost teasing. "Date?" Candy giggled. "You won't believe it. I had to rush home this morning before Tim got back, and I didn't even notice until I got to the bathroom. I had dried white fluid around my mouth. I nearly collapsed right there. Mom laughed softly. Oh dear, you have to be more careful. Next time, check a mirror before you come inside. What the fuck was happening? Candy sighed. I don't know what I'd do without you. Seriously, thank you for helping with the pregnancy termination. If Tim ever found out, he'd destroy me. The world tilted. My heart stopped. Pregnancy termination. She had gotten pregnant by someone else, and my own mother had helped her hide it. I turned and walked out before I could be seen. They didn't notice me. They didn't care. I walked back to my car, hands trembling on the steering wheel. My breath was shallow, my vision blurry with rage and betrayal. Candy, my mother. They thought I was a fool. They thought I wouldn't find out. But they were wrong. Because what I did next, it turned their lives into a living nightmare. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My mind was spinning, caught between disbelief and sheer, unfiltered rage. My wife was cheating. My mother was helping her. And worse, there had been a pregnancy, one that wasn't mine, one that was erased before I even knew it existed. I drove, but I had no destination. I just needed to move, to put space between me and the nightmare I'd walked into. I wasn't ready to go home, but I wasn't ready to confront them either. Not yet. Not until I had a plan. Candy and I met back in college. Nothing special, no fairy tale, no fireworks, just two young people in the same friend group who eventually became something more. She wasn't the most stunning woman in the world, but she had this way of making you feel comfortable, like you could just be. She was down to earth, easy to talk to. She had a kind face, soft brown eyes, a little round in the hips, but carried it well. I wasn't some high school quarterback or rich kid either. I was an average guy, a little quiet, always dependable. The type who paid his bills on time, never got in trouble, and did the right thing, even when no one was looking. That was me, Tim Burns, the guy people could count on. The guy who worked hard, provided, and kept his promises. I thought Candy was the same way. We got married young, mid-20s, right after I landed my first decent IT job. We weren't rolling in money, but we got by. We rented a little house, made plans for kids, and lived a life that to me felt real. But looking back, I was the one who built that life. I was the one who took on extra hours when money got tight. I was the one who stayed up late researching mortgage rates, planning for a future that apparently only I cared about. Candy? She worked as a teacher, and to be fair, she put in effort. But I started noticing early on that she always took the easy road. When things got hard, she turned to other people to fix them. If she was tired, she called in sick. If a bill was due, she asked me to handle it. If a problem came up, she leaned on someone else instead of figuring it out herself. I didn't think much of it at the time. I figured that's just how she is. Some people need more help than others. I didn't realize then that it was a pattern, that she always looked for someone to make her life easier, even if it meant stepping over the man who had given her everything. We tried for kids early in our marriage, but it never happened. Candy went to the doctor, but nothing was ever wrong with her. I got tested too. Everything was fine. Just bad timing, the doctor said. It'll happen when it happens. Candy cried about it a few times, said she wanted to be a mother more than anything. But after a while, she just stopped bringing it up. It hurt me, but I figured she was just tired of the disappointment. I told myself we'd try again soon, maybe when we had more money, more stability. Now I knew the truth. She did get pregnant, just not by me. And my own mother had helped her erase the evidence. My mother, Susan Burns, was a woman who had spent her entire life controlling people without them realizing it. She was never cruel, never harsh, just involved, too involved. She made herself indispensable in every part of my life. As a kid, she chose my clothes, my meals, my activities. As a teenager, she hovered, giving advice that was really just thinly veiled commands. She loved me, I knew that. But her love came with a leash. I was never supposed to be truly independent. When I married Candy, my mother made it clear she was so proud of me for picking such a sweet girl. She inserted herself into our lives, constantly helping Candy with things, housework, cooking, planning for the future. At the time, I thought it was just motherly affection. I didn't see it for what it really was, control. And now, years later, she had helped my wife cheat, helped her cover it up, helped her get rid of another man's child. Why? Because to her, it wasn't about me. It was about keeping things stable, keeping her version of my life intact. If Candy's affair came out, it would ruin everything my mother had invested in. It would shatter the family image she had so carefully curated. She didn't care about my pain. She cared about keeping things neat. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I parked a few blocks away, turned off my headlights, and watched. Candy's car was in the driveway. The lights in the living room were on. I imagined her inside, completely unaware that her life was about to change forever. Maybe she was curled up on the couch watching TV, completely at ease. Maybe she was texting someone. Jake? His son? Who the hell was the father? It didn't matter. I had spent our entire marriage playing the good guy, the decent man. I had given her everything, trusted her blindly. That was over. Now it was my turn. I pulled out my phone and called Marvin, the private investigator. "I need more dirt," I said. "More?" He sounded surprised. "Tim, the photos I already sent you are—" "Not enough," I cut him off. "I need names. I need dates. I need proof that'll destroy her in court. And I want a copy of every text message, every call log, every goddamn receipt you can get your hands on." There was a pause. Then Marvin said, "All right, I'll get to work." I hung up and sat in the darkness, staring at my house, the house I paid for, the life I built, the woman who had thrown it all away. Tomorrow I'd walk through that door like nothing had changed. I'd kiss my wife. I'd let her believe she was safe. And then I'd make her wish she had never taken me for a fool. Candy had no idea that her world was already crumbling beneath her. The next morning I walked through the front door like nothing had changed. I set my bag down, took a deep breath, and forced a smile as she turned from the kitchen counter, coffee in hand. "Tim!" she gasped, surprised. "I thought you were coming back tonight." I shrugged, stepping forward to kiss her on the cheek. She smelled like vanilla lotion and deceit. "Caught an early flight," I said, my voice even. "I missed you." Her lips curled into a relieved smile. "I missed you too, babe." Liar. She was already dressed for work, her hair tied back in a ponytail, wearing one of her plain blouses and a knee-length skirt. Nothing flashy, nothing that screamed I just spent last night with another man, but I knew better. "How was your weekend?" I asked, taking a sip of the coffee she had made for herself. She hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. Then she plastered on that same easy smile she always used when she wanted to manipulate me. "It was fine, pretty quiet actually. You know how it is, just work, TV, and way too much junk food." I almost laughed. She was so damn comfortable lying to my face. I nodded along, pretending to believe her while my mind replayed the sickening conversation I had overheard at my parents' house. "How was your date? You have dried white fluid around your mouth." "Thank you for helping with the pregnancy termination." I had been living with a stranger. I spent the next few days gathering everything I needed to ruin her. Marvin delivered. He got me copies of her text messages, phone logs, even video footage of her at Jake's house. Not just with him, multiple men. Turns out my wife wasn't just cheating, she was a goddamn community project. One of the texts hit me the hardest. "Jake, you're insatiable. Didn't think you'd still have energy after last night." Candy. "Ha ha, I swear you guys are gonna ruin me." But God, I needed that. Tim is so boring. After everything I had done for her, the years I had spent busting my ass to build a future for us, the late nights I had spent at work so we could afford a house, vacations, a good life, and all the while she was out there getting pounded by my boss and his friends, texting them like a damn high schooler. It wasn't just betrayal, it was mockery. And the worst part? The messages went back years. This wasn't some recent mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. Candy had been cheating since the beginning of our marriage. She had never wanted to be a wife. She had wanted security. I thought back to our early years together, how she had latched onto me in college when I was the safe guy. I wasn't the most exciting man in the world, but I was stable, reliable. A man who wouldn't leave her, wouldn't hurt her, wouldn't challenge her. Candy had never been wildly ambitious. She liked the idea of marriage more than the reality of it. She wanted someone to pay the bills while she played house, and when that got boring, she found excitement elsewhere. Jake had been the first, then his son, then his employees. The list went on. She had been with at least 9 different men while married to me, and that wasn't even the worst part. The pregnancy, the one she got rid of before I even knew it existed. My mother had helped her cover it up, not because she cared about Candy, but because she wanted to protect the family image. She didn't want a scandal. She didn't want her son to be a divorced man. They had both played me, used me, turned me into a joke. I wasn't going to let them get away with it. The revenge. I spent 2 weeks setting everything up. Every single move was carefully planned. I met with a divorce lawyer and handed over the evidence. We drafted the paperwork. Candy wasn't getting a damn cent from me. Then I prepared the public humiliation. Jake had a wife. She didn't know. Jake had a company. He valued his reputation. Candy had a job, a teaching position at a private school that took moral character very seriously. I made sure everyone found out. The day of reckoning came on a Friday. I waited until Candy left for work and then sent an email. Not just to her, but to everyone, her boss, her coworkers, Jake's wife, Jake's board of directors, her friends, and her family. Subject: thought you all should know. Attached were the screenshots of her texts, the videos, the proof. The fallout was instant. Her job fired her. Jake's wife filed for divorce. Jake's company, afraid of the scandal, forced him to resign. And as for my mother, I sent her a text with just one sentence. You chose her over me, now live with it. Then I blocked her number. The final confrontation. I was sitting at the kitchen table drinking coffee when Candy came home that night. Her face was a mask of panic. You ruined my life," she shrieked, slamming her bag down. "How could you do this to me?" I calmly took another sip. "I didn't do anything, Candy. You did this to yourself." Tears streamed down her face. "I lost my job. Jake's wife is divorcing him. His career is over. What the hell were you thinking?" I laughed. Actually laughed. "You mean, what was I thinking? I was thinking about all the times you cheated on me, all the times you came home with another man's sweat on you, all the times you let my boss and his friends take turns with you while I was working to pay our bills." Her mouth snapped shut. I stood stepping closer, towering over her. "You destroyed our marriage years ago. You just never thought I'd be smart enough to figure it out. But guess what, sweetheart?" I leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper. "I was never as stupid as you thought I was." She was shaking now, eyes darting around like she wanted to run. "Get your things," I said. "The divorce papers are on the table. I already signed. You get nothing. You leave with whatever you can carry." "Tim, please." Her voice cracked. "We can talk about this. We can fix this." I smiled. A slow, cold, knowing smile. You don't fix something that's rotten to the core. And then I turned my back on her. For the first time in years, I felt free. Candy stood there, frozen, her breath shallow and uneven. The reality of what had just happened was crashing down on her piece by piece. I didn't feel a damn thing for her anymore. Not love, not hatred, just nothing. She opened her mouth, then closed it, as if trying to find the right words. But what could she say? She had lied to me, cheated on me for years, mocked me behind my back, and then had the audacity to think I would just accept it. There was nothing left to say. I pulled my phone from my pocket and tapped a few buttons. The screen lit up and I turned it toward her. "See this?" I said, my voice calm. "This is a text from the landlord. The lease is in my name. You're officially off it as of this morning. You have an hour to pack whatever fits in your car. After that, the locks get changed." Her lip trembled. Tim, please, you can't do this. I have nowhere to go. I tilted my head, pretending to think. Huh, maybe you should call Jake. Oh, wait, his wife took everything. Guess he's a little too busy dealing with his own life falling apart. She flinched. Or maybe one of the other guys you slept with. I continued, my tone mockingly sympathetic. Oh, right, they weren't exactly interested in you, just in what you could give them. Tim, pack your set, Candy. Tears streamed down her face. I made a mistake, okay? I got caught up in things, but I never meant to hurt you. I cut her off with a laugh. A real laugh. Never meant to hurt me? I repeated. Candy, you were laughing about me, mocking me, telling Jake and his son and God knows who else that I was boring while they took turns with you. You think you're the victim here. She started sobbing. Pathetic. But I wasn't going to let her cry her way out of this. You know what the saddest part is? I said, shaking my head. I was boring. I was predictable. Because I loved you. I worked my ass off to make sure we had a good life. I stayed faithful. I took care of everything so you wouldn't have to worry. And what did I get in return? She sniffled, rubbing her eyes. I don't know. I smiled, a slow, cold smile. You got FD, I said. And now, I'm FG you back. She let out a sob, her body shaking. Please, just let me stay a little longer. I'll figure something out. I pulled up my phone again and held it up, showing her the screen. You have 58 minutes, I said, watching her eyes widen as she saw the timer counting down. Then I turned and walked away. The fallout, Candy left that night. I watched from the living room window as she stuffed whatever she could fit into her car. A suitcase, a few bags, her work laptop, which didn't even matter because she had been fired anyway. She tried calling her friends, but guess what? They weren't answering. Turns out nobody wants to associate with the woman who lost her job, her home, and her dignity in the same day. I saw her sit in her car, her hands gripping the wheel, her shoulders shaking as she sobbed, and I felt nothing. Not pity, not regret, nothing. She started her engine and drove off, disappearing into the night. That was the last time I ever saw her. Jake? His wife took him for everything. She had a damn good lawyer, and with the evidence I provided her, she wiped the floor with him in court. His company didn't just fire him, they blacklisted him. Nobody in his industry wanted to be associated with him after the scandal. I heard through the grapevine that he moved into a cheap apartment across town, spending his nights drinking himself into oblivion. His son cut ties with him completely. Guess family wasn't so important after all. My mother, I didn't speak to her again. She called, she texted. She even showed up at my office once, begging me to talk to her, saying she only did what was best for me. I had security escort her out. The last text I sent her was simple. You chose her over me. Now you have neither. Then I blocked her number. Me? I moved on. It wasn't easy. Even after getting my revenge, there were nights where I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I had let myself be fooled for so long. But in time, the pain dulled. I got a promotion, moved into a better apartment, started focusing on myself instead of trying to fix people who didn't deserve it. And as for love, I took my time, I learned to trust again. And eventually I met someone new, someone who looked at me like I was enough. Someone who didn't need to find excitement in the arms of another man, someone who actually deserved me. And when I finally found that, that's when I knew I had won.